Up next is my good friend Jennifer Massey. Jennifer is a counselor at Still Wind Ministries, a Christ-centered therapy clinic that specializes in counseling victims and their families. Her topic is about the effects that abuse has on its victims, their families, and our community. I'm going to steal a chair.
So, I'm the clinical director at Still Wind Ministries, and we have 3 centers there. One is the counseling center, where we provide counseling for children and families with abuse problems or divorce problems or life problems. And we also have an education center where we help students with learning difficulties to achieve at their potential. And we also have an advocacy center, which we use donations to support parents who are in legal battles of abuse. And we have 3 cases right now that we're supporting through advocacy, and one is an expert witness who is examining and challenging a new theory called false memory syndrome, which is suggesting that children are having false memories of their abuse or their perpetrators, that also are proclaiming a new type of therapy called family clarification therapy, that indicates that what happened was not abuse, it was something else. And it's pretty infuriating, I have to tell you. And that is happening in our state, and so Stillwind has used a significant amount of donation funds to hire a child forensic expert, not associated with the state, not associated with anybody that we know, to just examine and the validity of these claims and to testify in this particular case where 2 children's safety is highly at risk. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of what is happening, you would never hear about that anywhere else. And so that's what we do at Stillwind, and I do therapy there and also direct the centers. So I will attempt today to explain to you the effect or impact of sexual abuse on a growing individual and family. But first you have to visualize that an effect is defined and measured by noticeable change that occurs when 2 objects collide. So we're talking about the effect or impact of sexual abuse. And so effect happens when 2 objects collide. For example, the sun on your skin. That's a noticeable, measurable effect. Or what about coffee in your veins? That's a noticeable, measurable effect, right? Or what about pollen in your sinuses? That's a measurable, noticeable impact. That's an impact. There's a collision that occurs there, especially if you live in this part of the country. And so effects change the original shape or reaction of something. It actually changes what used to be present. And the effects of child sexual abuse change the shape of the person's entire life. So second, in order to understand the impact, you have to understand the impact of child sexual abuse based on a basic precept of human development and motivation. Abraham Maslow explains that Abraham Maslow explains that all humans have 5 levels of growth and maturity. These 5 levels include physical at the bottom, security, love and belonging, significance, and spiritual awareness is at the top. And I just reworded this diagram so that it will be more plain English. So, physical needs include life-sustaining elements such as food, shelter, and desire. Security needs include protection from injury, accessibility to resources, and a sense of well-being. Love and belonging needs include friendship, community, and intimacy. Significance needs include respect, value, and competency. And spiritual needs include purpose, potential, and success. And so the basic human development theory is that in order for individuals to be happy and healthy, they need to develop in all 5 of these areas. And we accept this theory widely in psychology. And so child sexual abuse, however, impacts every area of needs development: the physical, security, love and belonging, significance, and spiritual awareness. Other types of abuse, like physical, impact at least the first 3, but not always the last 2. And so it's significant that sexual abuse fractures every growing part. So when the development of these 5 basic needs is interrupted by a traumatic event, the person's development is what we call a fracture. In order to survive, a person with fractured development will isolate and protect those broken pieces and then try to function from what is left. This leads to a fragmented or compartmentalized development. Let me give you an example, like a real life example. Consider an object in your garage or in the corner of your closet that you received when you were young and you loved it until it broke. It's too valuable to get rid of, so you keep trying to fix it. After several years of repair, you accept that you don't know how to fix it. But you can't part with it, so you put it in a dark corner. When you face a life change, like moving or sharing your space with someone special, you will again be reminded of the day that it broke and the attempts to repair it and failure. Each encounter that you have with this object, you will have to decide what to do with it: discard it, keep hiding it, or repair it. This conflict is multiplied several times in people who are sexually abused. It's no wonder they stay home, they don't speak up, they look frazzled, act defensive, or don't have it all together. They live in a dark corner where no one visits. Their developmental stages are fractured, and they don't know how to fix it. And so they do what we do with our things. They put it in a corner because that's all they know how to do. So we are here tonight because child sexual abuse is sitting in too many dark corners of Greenville. We believe that awareness brings light, and with light, the right tools, and a strong support, fractured, fragmented, and shattered victims of sexual abuse can heal. So now we'll attempt to explain the impact of child sexual abuse through metaphoric stories of actual cases I have worked in emergency rooms, doctor's offices, HIV clinic, schools, counseling offices, and churches. Sexual abuse impacts a person physically like a head-on car crash. A 17-year-old girl describes, "Just before it happened, I had a creepy feeling that danger was approaching fast. When I clearly saw that danger was imminent, I screamed really loud to somehow avoid it, but the scream was not powerful enough for a head-on collision. Next, it feels like a massive collision to my body, mind, heart, and soul. My entire reality changed instantly. Then I felt silence. Total silence. I felt myself dying to who I was and being born into a new reality of darkness and betrayal. It was a surreal experience, like a nightmare with physical pain. I lay there for a long time, thinking that someone saw the crash and called a rescue squad. I finally concluded that no one was coming, so I scanned my body for broken bones or fatal wounds, but there were none. So I got up and started walking towards the darkness to try to find my way out. Sexual abuse impacts a person's significance. A 25-year-old man explained, in my mind, I feel like I'm driving down a divided highway on the wrong side of the road. I aggressively try to put myself back on the other side to go in the right direction, but I can't. It seems I have no control over my vehicle. It feels like a silent, invisible force that thrives on causing anguish, torment, and confusion in my mind is controlling my direction. It is really maddening when I see familiar faces on the other side of the road passing me by. Apparently, they don't recognize me anymore, or they choose not to reach out and help me. I just don't know how long I will be able to keep going this way. Sexual abuse impacts a person's security. A 13-year-old girl reports that sexual abuse is like a home invasion. I know what it is like to have someone break in my home, and this felt like being robbed in the middle of the night. I remember thinking about my safety and locking the doors before going to bed, but they came unexpectedly in an unpredictable way. I never would have guessed that it would happen that way. I remember feeling dazed, like I was dreaming and fighting to wake up. I remember wondering why they wanted to steal the most personal and precious part of me instead of the material things they could have traded for money or drugs. They left as fast as they came, and I felt like an empty house with no value. I don't like living here anymore, but I have nowhere else to go. The decorations I have inside are changing to unattractive colors of shame and disgust. All the furniture is broken because I had to express my anger somehow, so I took it out on myself. I wish they had taken everything because this body doesn't feel like home anymore. Sexual abuse impacts a person's love and belonging. A 40-year-old woman explains that sexual abuse is like having invisible tattoos. She says, "When I go anywhere for the past 30 years, I swear these tattoos show up all over me, and they tell people who I am. I don't know what they say because I can't see them. I can only see the facial expressions of people passing me by. I know they don't say nice things about me because of the comments people make. People avoid me, some call me names, some look at me like I'm a dying animal. It is bizarre. I used to try to scrub off the invisible tattoos, but it didn't work. I tried asking someone to explain what they saw, but that resulted in more insults. I have learned it doesn't matter how many clothes I wear, people still see them. At age 25, I quit fighting it and adapted to others' perceptions of me. When I turned 29, I stopped looking in the mirror because I didn't know the woman who was staring back at me." Child sexual abuse impacts a person spiritually. A 16-year-old girl describes that sexual abuse is like a dying church. "I attended church my whole life. It felt like my home away from home until a dark shadow pulled me away from the lighted hallway and sexually assaulted me. Every time I went back into church, I could see the lights getting dimmer. I also noticed the heat quit working. It was ice cold in there. It felt like the most uncomfortable place on earth. I asked other people if they noticed how dim the lights were, but they said they had no idea what I was talking about. Eventually, it was totally dark to me. I couldn't connect with anyone anymore. If others could still see the light and feel the warmth, then the problem had to be me. So I quit going. And eventually, I quit hoping for that victory in Jesus they sang about. Now when I pass by the church, I can only see its shadow." Sexual abuse impacts family. A 50-year-old mom explains, "It feels like a tornado hit our home while everyone is in it. Everything gets turned upside down. People are thrown around like rag dolls. Relationships get rearranged. The picture albums are shredded. The table and chairs of value and respect that we used to put our trust in are useless. Everyone enters survival mode. At first, numerous strangers arrive to help in search and recover. They come in one after the other, probing and prying into our lives. It begins to feel like they are trying to help us, and they start accusing or criticizing us. We risk losing everything if we send them away. Eventually, the helpers reorganize the furniture. They take down all the pleasant memories. They make suggestions about our conversations and our celebrations. The storm was bad enough, it broke our walls in two. But the helpers who came shattered what was left of us. I so wish that I would have heard the warning siren and escaped the storm." Statistically, I know that there are people listening who've experienced the impact. There are people listening who say it's better to keep it a secret and blame themselves. There are people listening that neutralize the impact with rationalizations or minimizations. But this is the impact. It is violent, it is lifelong, it is pervasive, it is changes the original shape of a human being. But the most worthwhile information of knowing is the impact of healing. Healing from sexual abuse is like being lit by a flame of hope and determination. A young woman describes her experience. My decision to heal started out with my last flicker of hope. I was hoping that I could be normal and live a normal life. That was a spark that grew into a flame when I shared my story with a therapist and she accepted me. It felt like a warm wind of relief for someone to know what I have been through. Then she explained the feelings I had and described to me how I have adapted to survive. I could feel the flame getting brighter inside me. I had more energy. I looked forward to going to counseling. Then I started learning about abuse and answering questions of why and how it happens. It was like stepping out of my circumstances and looking at them from a superior point of view. After that, I started picking up pace in my life, finishing things, setting goals, making new friends. Before I realized it, I felt happy, like there were no missing pieces to my life. With each day, I could feel the flame of hope getting brighter, and I felt the courage to tell a close friend about a secret I used to be horribly ashamed of. I told my friend so that she would know that healing is possible. Healing feels like winning, like conquering the tallest mountaintop or climbing out of the deepest hole. It is so rewarding that I feel compelled to speak up about it. I intend to use my light to light the flame of others with hope. Hope and determination are contagious. When people with lighted flames gather with lighted flames, there is significantly less darkness. Because of the light, there are fewer unanswered screams, divided minds, empty houses, invisible tattoos, spiritual shadows, or silent sirens. The light gives light that darkness can't put out. So we believe that awareness brings light. Don't let anyone or anything keep you in the dark. Reach out, speak out against child sexual